Trinity, and I am from the Minneota FCCLA chapter. I am from Minneota, and I will be competing in the Level 3 category, Focus on Children. I used the FCCLA planning process summary page. My step 1 was to identify concern, and my concern is a children's ability to understand emotions and how to deal with them. Step 2 was to set a goal, and my goal was for children to be able to recognize their emotions and to have a healthy way to deal with them and have healthy ways to build relationships with other people and themselves. Step 3 was to form a plan, and who that involved was me and the Minneota Public School elementary students. What? To make a presentation to help further kids' abilities to understand their emotions and how to cope with them. When? From December to present. Where? Minneota Elementary School. Why? To ensure children understand why they feel the way they do and how to deal with those emotions. And how? By getting into the classrooms and by teaching students about their emotions. And my step 4 was how I acted on that. And how I chose to do that was I gathered information by talking to the elementary school counselor. I created a presentation on emotions and how to deal with them, and I presented that to 3rd graders. So we all have our problems and our issues, but have you ever really thought about where that all stems from? Well, I thought a lot about it, and after doing further research, I discovered that it really stems from emotions and how you were taught about them when you were younger. And I'm going to share a little story about myself. So when I was younger, I wasn't really taught about my emotions. I was kind of brushed aside, and I was kind of told that my feelings weren't valid. And that really stunted my development and kind of just set me up for failure in life, because it's really hard for me personally to talk about my emotions and to communicate with others. So I thought doing this project would be very beneficial for me and younger kids. And so basically what I did was I created a lesson plan, and I gave 3rd graders a little pre-test. And basically what I had them do was I answered certain questions. So for example, the first one was, my mom brought home ice cream for me, and this little girl said she feels excited. I know I feel emotion because, and she said, because I love ice cream. And so there was 4 more questions just like that. And the last question was, I wanted them to tell me how many emotions they already knew about. And then after that, I went in with my lesson plan, and I kind of revolved my lesson plan around the movie Inside Out, because I thought that was kind of something they could connect to, and it would make it easier for them to understand what I was teaching them. So basically what I did was I made this presentation about all the emotions from the movie: joy, anger, disgust, fear. And as I went through that, I would ask questions so they could interact with it, so they weren't feeling like they were just being lectured by me, because that's not fun for anyone. And after that, we played a game of bingo, and throughout that game of bingo, they could pass around these little stuffed characters from the movie as more of a physical concept, because I know personally I do better hands-on, and I wanted to keep that in mind when I went in there. And after doing the game of bingo, we kind of sat down and we talked about emotions, and I asked them questions about why they feel these emotions, when they feel them, and how we could cope with them in healthy ways. After that, I gave them the same test to see kind of what they were able to learn and comprehend, and kind of like feedback for myself to see how I can adjust it for later times with different grades too. Applies to child development concepts. Social and emotional development is a child's ability to understand the feelings of others and their own, while being able to control their own. In order for children to attain this skill, they need to be understanding, have self-control, have empathy, and pay attention to others. Feelings of anger, joy, fear, disgust, and sadness can all be overwhelming to children, and they may not know how to cope with them. And I feel as though this project really just revolves around that and really helps kids understand that. And the specific need it addresses is being able to recognize your emotions is very important, especially when you're young. Not every child is taught how to identify certain emotions they feel or how to deal with them in a healthy way. Emotional development flows into many other areas of development as a child grows, and being able to recognize these emotions helps children gain confidence in themselves. And some positive impacts this has on the children and the community around them is the children become more empathetic. It helps them build better relationships with others. It makes them more aware of them and what's around them. And it also helps with problem-solving skills. And some negative effects it has on them when not knowing these emotions is it's harder for them to express themselves. They could also have depression and anxiety, and they could also potentially do poorly in school. And my last step to my planning process was my follow-up. My follow-up was I would write thank you notes to teachers and give them treats for their students for being such good participants for my project. I will also be going into more facts classes to better my knowledge about this subject. And later in life, I hope to be in the social work field so I can help more kids later too. And some questions you might have are, how can this project lead to a future career? Well, I have always wanted to help kids. I've always had such a big heart for them. And so I feel as though being able to understand this more and be able to connect with them more will really help me become who I want to be, which is a social worker, because I've always wanted to help kids and get them the help that I wasn't able to get when I was younger. And I think that's really important. Another question you might have is, how did you become interested in doing a project relating to children? Well, I've always loved children, and they've always been a part of my life, and I've always done my best to help them with whatever they need, whether it's homework, friends, or maybe something at home. Their siblings aren't being nice. And I also want kids of my own later in life, and I feel like doing this will also help me understand how to help them, and I think that is really important. Thank you.